This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
Welcome to this episode of the KJ Arcade. My name is Kevin. I'm the K.
And as always, I am Jay the Grey.
Soon to be Jay the White. After he destroys the Balrog.
Yes. Gains the omnipotence.
Gains the omnipotence and... You have to say that first.
Yeah, I also have to get a really cool staff.
You do. Where can you find one of those at?
Driftwood.
Let's go to the woods.
River. Go to the river.
Go to the river.
It's so much
So
easier
anyways,
to go to the river.
because this is KJ Arcade, we're going to talk about a game, and it's my turn. And we've been talking about a lot of older games, like not really older, like maybe older for us.
Yeah, because we're old.
Yeah, because we're old. But I'm going to talk about a game that's still popular and still going on, and that is called Oxygen Not Included.
I have seen that in your Steam queue of games.
That is, because we're part of a family now.
We are part of a family.
And if you want to play games with me, you have to buy your own version. But Oxygen Not Included is not multiplayer.
It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. And it's one of those, it's a survival game of sorts where essentially the story is you have 3 clones and you have a little teleporter thing that makes your clones, and they make them appear in the middle of an asteroid. And it's essentially like, all right, survive. And they have the ability to like dig holes, and you got to create your base. And creating your base is like you get materials from all over this asteroid. That's a combination of like algae and slime and sandstone and ice and water and dirty water, and then like chlorine gas and hydrogen gas and natural gas, and they got vents all over the place, and it's like, it's a lot. And so the fun part for me is trying to balance all that stuff out, because there's so much you have to think about all the time. You're like you start playing the game, you're like, all right, first thing I need to do is I need to get toilets in this motherfucker, because otherwise they'll start pissing on themselves.
Okay, hold on. So, your clones are clones of you, but...
No, they're just clones.
Oh, they're just
it's like,
random clones, not clones of
it's
you.
like, there's a clone... It's like, according to the story, they had these like, they took smart people, and they made clones of them. And now there's, like, a clone database. And it's like... And so, like, the game goes in cycles, and every cycle is essentially a day. And after every like 3 days, your little creator thing is like, hey, you need to create something. And so you can click on it, and it'll create like at least one inanimate object, which would be like food or supplies of some sort. But then there's 3 options to create another clone. And you can make as many clones as you want, but you have to think about every time you get a clone, you have to think about they need water, they need food, they need to breathe oxygen. And so you need to be generating oxygen at a consistent pace. You need to be generating food at a consistent pace. And then you have to think about decor, because if they're in a shitty looking environment, they're going to be stressed out. And if they get stressed out, then they have stress reactions where, like, if they get really stressed out, they'll just start breaking shit. Some of them just scream.
Oh, no.
Some of them just start vomiting uncontrollably.
No.
And I mean, but like, there's so much to think about. You got to think about temperature, which is a very late game problem. But like, because if your temperature, when you plant plants, you have to think about, oh, this plant can only survive between 30 degrees and 75 degrees. So I have to keep temperature just around these plants at that temperature. And then, like, certain things create poison, polluted oxygen. And, like, your clones can breathe that. But then if they breathe it too much, they get sick.
Right.
And if they get sick, it just makes them slower, and then it stops them from working, and because they're coughing too much. And it's just like, it sounds like a lot, but like your first few games you're gonna play, and you're gonna be like, what the fuck? Like this, how did I die? What do you mean I gotta worry about this? And but the fun is in starting over, in my opinion.
Oh,
Because like I played my first game and I was like, what do you mean my plants are dying because it's too hot now? What the fuck? So then I started over. I'm like, okay, this time I'm gonna think about my plants being too hot. And then I go through and I'm like, okay, I'm staying cool. I'm making sure I'm not using hot water, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, well, fuck, now I'm out of, now it's too warm. I need to think about keeping the whole place cool. And then it's, oh, I need to think about getting plumbing. Oh, I ran out of energy. Now I need to think about energy. Like,
always something.
on and on. Yeah. And I've gotten up to like cycle 450 or something.
Huh.
And even then, I never feel like I'm stable. And like, I've completely gutted the asteroid. Like, the whole asteroid is empty except for my ladders all the way across it.
I mean,
but like,
it's a year and some change. So I mean,
yeah, that's a year and some change in the life of them dupes or whatever. But then you can also, at one point, once you get up to the end, you can go out of the asteroid, and then you get to space, and you can build rockets, and then go to other planets, which I haven't even gotten to yet. I haven't even built a space. I haven't even built a rocket yet, like at all. I've had like tons of dupes doing all sorts of shit, like because there's day-to-day stuff. You got some of them are good at cooking, some are good at digging, some are good at construction, and like some need to be. You need to have doctors. You need to. You need someone who's good at ranching so they can grow, so they can keep track of animals, because then if you have animals, you can get better food. And if you have better food, it makes your dupes happier, and like on and on and on. And it sounds like a lot. It really does, because it is a lot. But if you slowly build upon it, it's so much fun. And it's by Clay, I believe. Yeah, Clay. Or Clay, I don't even know how you pronounce it. KLEI. That's who is the developer, and they also made Don't Starve, which is another survival type game. But it's really, that one I couldn't really get into.
Why
couldn't
not?
really get into that one. It's like
It's not starving. Kill an animal. Eat some
but
grass.
it's like you have to think about insanity meter in that one. And I remember you could build a flower crown, and that kept you from going insane for some reason. You find flowers and you make a little crown and you put it on your head. You're like, I'm not insane anymore. I don't know, but they have a very certain art style that they use, because it's a very similar one for Oxygen Not Included. But I mean, it's got 3 different DLCs, which add like you think that you have a lot of stuff to deal with now. Like you have a power grid, you got air filters that you have to think about, because they're like creating machines constantly, and these machines will help you do other stuff. But it's like for every upside a machine gives you, you have to consider the downside. Like, oh, I'm going to take this machine and I'm going to make refined metals, which will make me build better things, but it generates so much heat that I cannot put it in my base. Like, so I'm going to put it off to the side. And then if things overheat, they can actually just melt. And so, yeah. If it gets so hot, because if you go down further,
it's too hot. People overheat because it's too hot. Base gets too hot, could create noxious gas from something that's already inside the base. Good grief. Yeah.
Because if you leave polluted water out, it gives off polluted oxygen.
Right.
So you have to make sure that your polluted oxygen is somewhere else. Polluted water, but it's like polluted water is spread all randomly throughout. So you can't, like, if you dig through something, you're like, all right, I have to make sure this falls into a place where I can control it.
Oh my god.
Because there's also like salt water, and there's brine, and then if you dig down deep enough, you get to lava.
Oh jeez.
And then lava is like 1,000 degrees. So like you have to
ice.
Yeah, well, you can't even, like, if you cool it down, you can get oil, but then in order to make oil, you have to turn it into petroleum in order to use it. which is putting into a petroleum machine, but that generates so much heat. It's ridiculous. So you get the petroleum, and then you can use that to power your base, use it as fuel. But then like it creates so much heat. Like, is it worth it? Is it the only thing
For
that actually
energy?
Yeah, the only thing that actually regenerates in that is vents. It's like vents and what is it called? It's another type of vent, but basically like the vents some will create water, and some will create steam, and some will create chlorine gas or natural gas or whatever. But like the ones that create water, they create water at like 90 degrees.
Oh, so hot water.
So too hot. So you got to do something with it. So how are you gonna cool down your water?
If I let it just sit, it should be fine.
Just let it sit out there for a little bit. It'll be just fine.
At least that's what you think.
Yeah.
Until
So that's I mean, and the problem is also like we got our fancy new computers from GameCore,
Yeah.
and Oxygen Not Included plays so fucking slow on it. My old computer played it so much better, and I don't know what the deal is, but it plays so fucking slow on my computer. And I love the game so much, and I can't fully play it.
we sit over here and play Marvel Rivals, and I can play.
Oh yeah, that goes
very
fine.
easily.
Yeah, that plays fine. Like I played No Rest for the Wicked, no problem. The best graphics. Like I had it at max, and it was fine. But Oxygen Not Included has so much processing it does, like 30 times a second, because like the air splits. Like you have to think natural gas is heavier than this, and so like when the dupes breathe in oxygen, they breathe out carbon monoxide,
Right.
and carbon monoxide falls to the bottom of your map, and then oxygen goes to the top, and then right above the carbon monoxide is chlorine gas, because if you got chlorine gas going out and about, it's going to be on a layer. Then it's oxygen and polluted oxygen, which is always mixed in together. And then you have like hydrogen gas, which is all the way at the top because it's the lightest. And then natural gas is somewhere between chlorine and oxygen. It's just like, and so every second you're imagining it's processing 20 times of like where the gas is going to go. Oh, it's going to go towards something that's hot, or it's going to go away from something that's hot. And then the water is going to drop. And then like you've got layered water because you got salt water on the bottom, oil on the bottom, water, polluted water, and then water on top. And so it's like everything is layered. Like it's never easy with that game. It's just like, fuck!
Yes.
But I love it so much.
It's a constant table flip.
Yeah, I want you to try it, and I want to be over your shoulder, just being like,
oh my god.
And then I'll show you what happened. And then click the button. You gotta dig. You gotta dig.
Okay.
You gotta dig.
Okay. Well, we will do this.
It's so much fun.
We will do
It's
this.
so much fun. I love that game so much. They've got 3 different like of all that stuff I told you, that's not even everything.
Of course not.
Because there's
that would be
animals
too
galore.
easy.
Yeah, there's animals galore, and again, for every good that an animal gives you, there's a bad. Like you have your hatches, which you can kill them and create barbecue and like ranch them for barbecue, but they eat rocks, and then when they eat rocks, they turn it into 75% of the mass of that rock. They turned it into coal.
Okay.
So you're like, cool, I can get coal, and then I can use that coal to make, more energy.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, of course, you put it in a coal generator. Coal generator creates heat, and then it also creates carbon monoxide. And so the carbon monoxide goes down, and then you have more of that, and you're like, well, what do I do with all this extra carbon monoxide now?
Yeah. Carbon. Yeah. What can you do with carbon monoxide?
Well, there are also
Besides
creatures
die from it?
called slicks.
Okay.
And slicks, they only eat carbon monoxide. And they're little floaty things, and they eat carbon monoxide, and then they spit out oil.
Okay.
So they're kind of useful. Yeah, so they're useful. And then there's also puffs that you can use to suck up polluted oxygen.
Okay.
But then they excrete slime, and slime, when it drops to the ground, excretes polluted oxygen. You see?
It's like you've helped me and fucked me at the same time. God damn it.
Every time they help you and they fuck you. Every time. The only animal that doesn't it eats phosphorite.
Okay.
And it doesn't, but when you kill it, it doesn't leave meat behind. And all it does is it's like a floating light bulb. And all it does is glow and like show light.
Okay.
And that's literally all they do. Is they just fly around, and if they fly around near your dupes when they're trying to sleep, some of them can't go to sleep when there's light nearby, so they'll wake up, and then they get unrested, and then they have a shitty day the next day. But in one of the updates, in the Spaced Out update, they made an additional problem you got to deal with, which is radiation.
Jesus.
And the little lighted creatures, they also emit radiation now, and you're like, fuck that. I'm like, I don't even want the DLC because I don't want to deal with something else. No. That's why I'm not getting it. I'm already dealing with enough. Thank you very much.
No, it's completely and totally fair. Screw that. Nobody needs to die from radiation poisoning in a colony in space on an asteroid.
No, fuck that. Fuck that. Because, and we're not even talking about germs yet, sir. Germs. There's also germs because you got to wash your hands. And if you don't wash your hands, you get sick after you eat and you use the bathroom.
But these are
gotta wash your hands.
These are clones of smart people. They should know this.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah,
you'd think so. But then, like, if your water gets, your water can get infected with disease, which is like food poisoning germs, and then if you find slime out and about in the thing, which is everywhere, when you break slime, it creates slime lung. Because you break it and then the germs fly out everywhere. And they thrive in polluted oxygen. And let me tell you, polluted oxygen is everywhere. All the time. And so they thrive in polluted oxygen. Your characters get the slime lung. They get sick. And then they're coughing like crazy. And then the polluted oxygen, when it drops, creates more polluted oxygen. And it just goes on and on and on. And I love it so much. I just do. I just love it.
What fuckery is this?
Oh, I know you don't get it because I'm just running off at the mouth. But I love it, sir.
It's fuckery.
I love it. It's so good.
I mean, it probably is fun to play, but again, so much fuckery.
Yeah, you have to do a little research after you play it. Like, try it once. Follow the tutorial, and then when you realize that that's not enough, then you're going to do your Googles and be like, how the fuck do I deal with this problem? What's the best way to deal with this problem? And I watch like videos, and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good build. Oh, I like that idea. So,
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I think that's all I got to say about it. But try it. And if you have any questions and you want to discuss this game after you play it, shoot me an email.
I mean, you could shoot us an email at kjandapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call or text us at 858-848-5562.
Are you a two-wheeled scooter in the city? Because that was a great segue.
Right, I know. Don't forget you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, YouTube, Patreon, where you can find at least 6 hours of bonus content. And if you just want to donate to a podcast in need, there is always buymeacoffee.com/KJNA podcast. So, thank you for joining us on this prestigious afternoon, morning, evening, whatever it is for you. We love you.
We love you. Goodbye.